Hi.
I like your shirt.
And
Hey!
Woo!
We did it.
I know, finally. It's been a long project. But I'm excited.
So everyone, welcome to more mothers of or moms of real estate or mamas of real estate, whatever you want to call yourself. That's what you are, and that's who you are. Today we welcome the most amazing Ashley Wilson. I'm actually going to let Beka take it from here because Beka has done an amazing project with Ashley. When I saw the two connections, I was like, Ashley, you have to come on. It's tomorrow.
I was like, man, I wish Peely's so smart. We should have planned this.
Why plan it when I can be like, ooh, great idea, make it happen.
So I'm super excited that Ashley's here. I think this is the power of networking in real estate, just being open to meeting people who share your same core values and your same kind of passion and drive and outlook on life, right? So I remember Ashley and we had lunch at a sushi place, right?
Yes.
Yep. We met up. I don't even remember how we first got in contact, but it was just one of those, like, nothing to be gained out of it, just like, let's meet up and have lunch and get to know each other. And the end result of that conversation is that we just published a book along with 18 other amazing women yesterday about real estate. Ashley led the charge on this. She did such a phenomenal job behind the scenes. Like, I am blown away. So Ashley, we're going to let you take it away, but we like to start these with kind of just going around the room and giving everybody a little context, what's going on in your world, what's happening this week. So we will end with you and then turn it over. Melissa Johnson, tell us what's going on in your world this week.
Ooh, in my world this week, let's see. I launched my podcast.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So that was exciting. That's been in the works for a few months. So
nice.
Yeah, that happened. So that was good.
Congrats. And what's the podcast called?
It's the E3 podcast with
the
Melissa
E3
Johnson.
podcast, people. And maybe she can drop a link in the chat in case anybody wants to show her some love, subscribe, review it. All those things are awesome for people.
Yes. So that's really the biggest thing. I got 2 days worth of content shot last week with my media guy. So that was awesome. And yeah, just plugging away.
Nice. I love it. Stephanie, what about you? And actually, we like to talk about motherhood, mental health, marriage, and money on this podcast. So we like to kind of just give a little check-in on where we're at in that stuff. Stephanie, what's going on in your world?
I'm having a really good week. I mean, since the last time we spoke, things have been going really well. Trying to think like the big highlights. I feel like we got into a little more of a groove with homeschool. I think that's just kind of like a constant thing on all of our brains is what are we doing with homeschool? I feel like that's going a lot better. Struggling a little bit with my kindergartner, but that's okay. I feel our gym opened up, so I've been going to the gym. So I feel like my mental health is so much better. Like I need like high impact stuff. Like I just need to go out and just sweat it out and come back home. And I always feel so much like clearer and everything. So that's a major celebration for me. I've been going for runs, but it's getting kind of like boring. So it's just fun to be out in public and sweating it out. So that's been a major development for me. We just had a big update push on my Salesforce app. So I'm excited about that. And I'm really looking forward to next week. I'm going to a really cool conference, a Facebook conference. I get real geeked out about that. And I'm looking forward to Flip Packing Live too. So I feel like lots of really good stuff is happening and I'm really energized.
Yeah, that's all I'm feeling. Peely, what's going on in your world this week?
Craziness. I am going to apologize publicly to all the ladies here. I was late again. And I'm the one that starts this entire thing. So everybody that's
sorry that I didn't mean to make you feel bad.
Don't be late. No, I should feel bad. So this homeschooling thing is kicking my ass. I'm going to swear on Facebook because it is so. But life in general, it's like at a 10 right now. That is kicking my butt, but it's at a 10 because there's so many exciting things happening. We're putting our home on the market because we're going to move to Tennessee, so that's happening. And then we are we have a couple properties in the pipeline. Had a great call with an investor this morning, so that was fantastic. And then I go on Facebook last night and it was like this late night thing. And I'm just like, oh, Beka wrote a book. What? Wait, It was authored by Ashley Wilson. They know each other. Wars tomorrow. Ashley, come on. This was like, I don't know, it might have been midnight last night. I'm just like,
Late.
if she's available, maybe it'll happen. And if not, then we'll have her on next week. So it was an exciting couple of days besides that. But yeah, I think the homeschooling thing, definitely need to figure that out. Just hire someone to come in and help out, which has been key. So kind of onboarding her, figuring out our processes with that. I mean, you know me, as soon as I get the systems down, we'll be good. And it's starting to happen. So it'll free up my time a little bit more. And it's actually helping because I can spend quality time with one child and then the other child. And then my oldest is he's in first grade, but he's pretty much on his own in a weird way. And he likes it that way. So it's all about systems, right, ladies?
Right. For sure.
Totally feel that. I think to piggyback on that one,
really, I think we started just a couple weeks ahead. So you get there, you get to your stride.
Yeah, I remember Stephanie knew it around 2 weeks and being like, "This is bullshit."
So I was like, I'm there, but in a good way.
Yeah, we're getting there now. It's better. I promise. There's a light.
Yes. I'm the same way, Peely. I'm with you. Like, we're getting the rhythm of it. It's like whack-a-mole. For every problem we solve, a new one pops up and we solve that one. My kids went to a new school this year, so I'm reading this book. I might have talked about it last week, Untangled. Did I mention it last week?
I don't think so.
It's about, someone recommended it to me. It's about girls going through adolescence from like the age of 9 up through 18. And it's a psychologist. It was came out 2 years ago. And she's basically like, everyone treats this adolescence, like teenage years, like it's something to be dreaded and it's horrible. But once you understand what's happening and that your daughter is on her own journey of these like 7 different things that they have to figure out, it helps. And they talk a lot about the tribe. Like, they need to find their own tribe, their age. So my kids just started new schools and we're virtual. And so the thing I did this week was I reached out to the guidance counselors at all the schools and said, I need help connecting them in real life with another girl or 2 in their class so that, they can have people. And then level 10, the book came out. I was so excited. Ashley's been sending all these messages and I'm like, first off, I wasn't, sure exactly. I thought it was going to happen, but I didn't want to get my hopes up too much about like the official launch date. And then we got our like marching orders. I was like, yes, this is so exciting. And I really wanted to post about it on Monday, but they told me I wasn't allowed to post about it on Monday. So
worst thing ever for Beka.
That's what I was thinking.
You have to put the link, the Amazon link. I'm so excited to get it.
I will drop that in.
Tomorrow.
It should be it actually should be in the show notes.
Oh, it is. Yep. Peely rocked it out. So Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to pop over there and shut my door because I think there's some noise happening here. But why don't you introduce us, tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us how this book came about.
Absolutely. So, hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Wilson, and I've been in real estate investing for the past a little over 10 years. I got into it not fully knowing that I would be into it full time. So when I first got into it, we were listening to Bigger Pockets for a few years, and we really saw it as the path to diversify our retirement strategy, not so much that we were going to become full-time real estate investors. So that was the start of our real estate investing career. We started with short-term rentals, long-term rentals. Then I started a flipping company. I have a multifamily company. I just started a wholesaling company. So I have a few different ventures, and then we invest in notes. We kind of do a little bit of everything, so to speak. So with respect to the book and how that all came about 2 years ago, Dave Van Horn, who's a good friend of ours, he holds a conference every year in Philadelphia called the Mid-Atlantic Summit. And during that conference on the first day, Liz Faircloth and Andressa Godelli, the co-founders of InvestHer, asked all the women in attendance if they would attend a lunch together. So at the lunch, I really didn't know that many women at the 2 tables we pulled together, but out of 450 people in attendance, we were able to squeeze all the women in that room at these 2 tables. And that was about 5% of the entire room. So as everyone was starting to converse with each other, there were two things that I realized. One is that I couldn't believe how few women were in the room at this conference. But second, I couldn't believe the incredible, challenges these women had overcame. And also to how far along in their investing career they were. And to me, I thought to myself, why aren't these women on stage? And why aren't these women being promoted and highlighted and really raised to a level that they are the role models that we all look up to? And then I looked around and realized we don't really have a lot of women that are put in the spotlight in real estate as role models. So I think then it becomes a perpetual kind of feeling that this is still a male-dominated industry when really women are kicking ass every day, any day of the year, and we're just not elevating them. So I wanted to write a book. At that very moment, I knew I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called The Only Woman in the Room. I didn't really understand how I was going to put all the pieces together, but we drove home that night. My husband and I drove home, and I told him, I'm going to write a book called The Only Woman in the Room. And I didn't know that I would use the next year to, and that's actually the year that I met Beka. So during that year, you probably didn't know this, but in the back of my head, every woman I met, I was really kind of
interviewed,
trying to figure out like if they were, a good fit for what I was trying to bring together for the book. And it didn't mean that someone had to be, like making seven figures, so to speak. It could be at any part of their real estate investing journey. But what I was looking for was knowledge and inspiration, a good balance, someone who would be a good role model, someone who believed in what I was doing about, promoting women and really highlighting women and bringing women along, not feeling threatened by women's accomplishments, but really embracing it and sharing it with a greater community. That was a really, huge motivator in selecting the women that I selected. And then last but not least, actually the number one reason that I selected the women that I did was I wanted an equal representation of people that are out in the real estate world. I wanted anyone, male or female, rich or poor, from any background, any demographic, to be able to pick up the book and be able to relate to a couple women in the book. And I didn't think that would happen if I only looked at my, close-knit circle of people that I knew. I really wanted to branch out. So we have women from Canada. We have people who've immigrated to the US. We have a woman from Finland. It really just, every single woman in their own right is just so incredible. And I hope this book allows them more speaking opportunities. And instead of being always put on panels on what it's like to be a woman in real estate, which if I ever get asked to be on that again, I will shoot myself. But really giving them the spotlight to speak on what when I met Beka, you spoke at my meetup on marketing, and the level of detail that you have on analyzing marketing strategies is like no one I've ever heard of speak before in any field, real estate alone. So, that has so much value. And I think if we really elevate women and allow them to tell their story, we'll realize that women are more giving with information. They don't talk very surface level. They are willing to tell you exactly step by step how they got to where they got to. And it's about time we have women talking and telling us those stories, because it only helps us get further faster.
I love it. So when you sent out that video talking about the breakfast with Liz and Andresa, it made me think immediately of, I went to the Grant Cardone 10X conference out in Vegas 2 years ago, I think. And it was in stadium size conference, right? And I noticed a couple things at that conference. Number one, it was the most well-dressed men. I've never seen so many men in tailored suits before walking around. Also very arrogant. Some connection there. But Grant Cardone's wife actually organized a breakfast one morning while we were there. And one of the other former seven-figure flipping women, Laura Shotkevis, was with me. So she's like, let's go do this. It'll be awesome. And we went, and same thing. There was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people in attendance, and there were maybe 40 or 50 women at that breakfast. it's funny how such a similar experience, right? When you actually pull them together, you're like, oh, it's not many of us here.
Yeah, it's pretty profound. And I think also too, I went to an event one time, and I won't say what event, but I went to an event of a real estate guru, and in between the sessions, his wife, along with every other female volunteer at that event, got up on stage and did like a cheerleading routine to music. And I videotaped it secretively and sent it to my husband. And he's like, you don't even need to tell me what you're thinking, because, it was just so degrading. Is, there's no other term for it. And that was recently, by the way. That was within the past 2 years. So I just think that there.
Oh my goodness, I think I know which conference you're talking about.
You probably do know what conference, and I can tell you offline. I just don't want to blow up someone's spot here. But I just feel that it's very hard to do something if you don't have someone to look up to. And I have 2 daughters, so I'm selfishly motivated to really drive this mission very, very far. And I know one day when they are teenagers, because my mom always taught me this, that's why I ride horses, and my mom got me into riding horses because she said, once you become a teenager and you're not going to want to talk to me and you're not going to think I'm cool, we always have riding to bring us back together. So for me, this book is that parallel. So for my daughters, you know what? One day they're not going to think I'm cool, but that is why, and I have to like reach over here, but that is why I literally picked 19 other cool women that they can look up to and be able to think that what they're doing is cool, because it is cool. It's very cool what women are doing. So I'm just very blessed to have had the opportunity to really get to be able to, share everyone's stories that I thought were really inspiring on a huge platform. And also to the real estate investor community. So it's interesting how this all came about. I asked Liz and Andressa to co-author in the book. And then 2 days later, they asked if they could have a meeting with me. And I was like a bit worried, because I was like, oh, maybe they're going to like not want to do this. I didn't really know. And they had the opposite reaction. They said, we don't know if you know this or not, but we want to start a publishing company, and we want to have this book be the first book that we publish. Are you interested? And that, to me, I mean, I was looking into different avenues. I was going to contact Bigger Pockets. In fact, I was in discussions with someone who was helping me facilitate that presentation to Bigger Pockets. I mean, I literally just put the brakes on everything to just say, this is it. This is meant to be. This is exactly, I mean, I couldn't have written a better opportunity because I full-heartedly believe in the Invest Her mission. And I think what Liz and Andressa are doing is, I mean, I can't even put it into words. So the fact that they're now going to have a publishing company to allow other women to have a platform in which they can produce books, and they're not, I'm not saying Bigger Pockets, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of other platforms that are promoting men's stories, whether intentional or not, more so than women. It's incredible to have a platform in which women are going to be able to write on flipping, write on wholesaling, write on multifamily. I mean, there's just so much opportunity there now. And really that, hats off to Liz and Andressa for realizing that.
You need to hook them up with all of us.
We'll do
content for them. Don't you worry. We'll get
absolutely
right out there. I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
Beka, were you about to say something?
Nope.
Okay. So my question really is what you think the best strategy to reach women on a real level, to kind of bring them over to the side that it's okay to run your ship, right? To be that CEO mama, to be that CEO wife, because I kind of struggle with this transition. I feel that and this may be a limiting belief. So like, call me out on it if it is, but I feel like the conversation almost always has to start or does start with like permission to be more than a mom or more than a wife. Like, I feel like we've got to reach down to the women like that to bring them up. I feel that you can't just come out like as like, I'm just a woman in this field, right? Like, you've got to almost justify it. Like, you can do it because even if you can do it, even if, right? Not just I am. So I'm interested to hear your perspective on that and how we can effectively reach women to encourage them the same way without that like undertone. You know what I mean? Because it's a true thing. I mean, most of us have a significant other. Most of us have children or other interests, you know, regarding the family. But how do we not like have that undertone?
First of all, you are incredibly insightful because that question is just such a brilliant question. And I love the way you think, that you're thinking to that level and really trying to help other women and really understand the root of the problem, so to speak, or the root of our current status quo. I think it starts, I always like to kind of parallel things to a house. I did it in my chapter and now I'm going to do it in this answer. So I think the foundation of the problem is this isn't where everyone starts, but let's just say this is where they start. So the foundation of the problem is really the people that are closest to that person. So their spouse, their immediate family, providing that support and allowing that person to shine on that level. So one thing that I repeatedly say to my husband is I am so grateful that he not allows me, but that he really promotes me. He gives me so many opportunities to really shine. Last week, I was at a conference in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest Real Estate Expo, and at least 4 different men came up to me and said, "We can't believe your husband just is so, he puts his ego aside and he lets you shine." Because he is brilliant, smart. We're both in real estate, but he does not take center stage. And he used to be a professional athlete. Like, if anyone should really be taking center stage and really, wowing people, that would be a very easy transition for us to make. This former professional athlete is now a real estate investor. In and of itself will have an immediate following, more investors. I mean, it would have been a much easier path for us to take. But he didn't want to take that. He said, "We're going to do this differently. We're going to have you be the front of the company because you're going to stand out in a sea of white men." And he was absolutely correct. Brokers say constantly, "There's something about Ashley that makes it memorable. I think it's because she's a woman in a sea of men."
Sure.
And Kyle literally looked at me and started glaring at me like, "I've been telling you," because I'm like, this is so hard. Like, I'm not being taken seriously, and it's very difficult, but he knew it. He is so supportive. We were all talking about earlier about the struggles we've had with kids and homeschooling and everything. And he does all of that. I mean, I can kind of see the frustration, but I don't know it firsthand. So I can't really be like, "Oh yeah, me too. I'm so frustrated with this process." I see he's frustrated. So that makes me frustrated because I don't want him to be frustrated. But I think it starts with the inner circle and then it goes out from there. And a lot of people say, why am I not getting anywhere? Why am I not moving the needle? Why am I making, being apologetic when I am introducing myself and justifying my experience and my credentials? And I would also say, well, what circle are you having to do that with? Maybe it's a matter of just changing that circle. So the second layer I would say is, I'm a firm believer that you are the average of the 5 people that you associate with the most. And what I've realized is I have gotten so much further in real estate by spending more time with people I really look up to and people who inspire me and people who support me and cheerlead me and promote me. And then also tell me too where my blind spots are, who are very honest with me and say, "Ashley, you need to work on this," and critical of me, but not in a trying to snuff out my candle kind of way. So I think really that if you have that support from the foundation to the walls around you, and then, your role models who are bringing you up, because I personally believe you are responsible for bringing the people underneath you up to your level, the people that you walk alongside. We walk together very strong. And then you need to have role models who are constantly bringing you up. And if you're missing one of those parts, I think you just have to change that sphere. You need to look for other people who can really promote you and support you, give you the criticism when you need it, and keep you honest. Don't let the ego get in the way. So
I love the way you articulated that. And I think that's where maybe our responsibility as women leaders got, like, this has to exist, right? Like a tribe to join has to exist then, you know? So like that really, I think, puts into words how important it is to have these things, have these podcasts, have these books to read, have these invest her, events to attend, because I never knew where to go, right? Like I didn't know who, I had just had my friends. I didn't know who had to level up. I didn't know how to find other women that wanted to do something different or more, or had ideas like this, like business ideas, So I think that's so empowering and encouraging for everybody out there listening to find a group. And if there isn't one, freaking make one, right? And then invite people to it. I love that.
I also love
sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, I love your comment about finding a cheerleader in your inner circle. I mean, for you, that's your husband. But if you just can have one person who's on your side, who believes in you, who can, when you don't believe in yourself, can help pull you up. I don't think that I had ever articulated that into words before, but I think that's so powerful.
I mean, I think it's true for men too. I think, again, it kind of comes to the forefront of discussion more often with women leaders, like, oh, what's your husband's role, right? And of course, I think if you're a successful leader, you have a supportive spouse. I don't think it's really possible to not have it that way, whether that leader be a woman or a male. But I think, unfortunately, for male leaders, that question never comes up. Like, what does your wife think about all this? How does your, it's just assumed, right? But with women, we need to say the same thing. And I agree with you, Ashley. Like, my husband is so supportive. My husband's out there with the homeschool. We take turns. He does a lot. Like, he'll cook, he'll do a lot of things while I'm like, in my own little world. Right. And I think that's what makes it successful, is that having that supportive spouse, regardless of what your gender is, you're probably going to need some sort of support system, right? And understanding from your significant other.
Right. Melissa, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, it's okay. I just was going to say, just kind of reiterate the point, like how important your tribe is and the people you surround yourself with, because like I've been doing this for 17 years. And I can tell you, when I got started, there was literally nobody out there. There was like Robin Thompson, and that was it. Like there was nobody else out there. And having, people like, all of us that are getting out there and willing to share and be open. And like you said, Ashley, like going into that level of detail that women do, like women are so giving, and we want to help each other, and, just find those people that you can lean on, because it's out there now. Where, like I said, when I got started, it wasn't, and it was a weird, different journey that I had to take to get, here now. But I just love seeing all the women that are just supporting each other and, creating these tribes. I think it's awesome and so important.
And that's kind of what we're doing here, is creating your tribe. You want to talk to other women, do it. And this is a great example of that. I wanted to talk to you guys, so I did it. So any woman that's listening out there, you want to talk to someone, just message them and do it, and then see what comes of it. Ashley is, we are all some of the busiest women that I know, but Ashley, you just put out a book. And for me to ask you last night at 12 o'clock, we be on a live podcast the next day, it's just amazing. And that's the support that you get from these groups. So look up Ashley, look up the Investor Nation. I call it the Investor Nation, but the Investor group. But it's really a nation. It's a nation of women that are just supporting each other. So, and Ashley, you are like phenomenal bringing everyone together for this book. I can't wait to read it.
And
thank you so much.
I also want to say too, because sometimes people will reach out and maybe they maybe you catch Ashley on a busy day, right? And you can't get her attention then, but don't give up at that point. Find other people to go on this journey with you, because there are so many people out there who want to go.
Look,
Hi,
Liz. We gotta get Liz on the. We gotta get Liz.
We got more content for you, girl.
Yeah, we got your next book. We're making it right here.
There's so many of my favorite people all together. Liz Faircloth is favorite people. She's one of the founders of the Investor Nation, the investor group. Look them up on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ashley,
Yes.
I want to dive into, you said 2 years ago, you had this idea, you wanted to write this book, and the whole concept of it is super intimidating to me. Like, how does one go about writing a book? Aside from, I just wrote like a couple pages, but there's so much more to it. Tell me about this process.
That is an excellent question, and one I did not know the answer to before I got started. So it's not like I have, 10 books. It's just like real estate investing. So you learn and then you put one foot in front of the other. And anytime you have any questions, you just ask. So I spent a tremendous amount of time researching not only how to write a book, but how to write a book with co-authors, which is a whole different set of responsibility that you have to make sure that you have. An important thing for me for the book was that I wanted everyone's voice to be heard and their personality to come out, but I also wanted consistency between chapters. So it didn't feel like it was just, 20 different chapters from 20 different books.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted there to be a flow across all of the chapters. So what I did is I broke down topics that I thought at different points in my investing career, I would have wanted to know the answers to and the information to. And then also too, I looked at different asset classes. I mean, this didn't just come about because I was like, oh, I like these 19 women. I'm going to ask them to help me write this book. It was very, very intentional. So the one thing I didn't check is their writing style or capability, but everything else I checked: their asset class, their experience, their their journey. And then I talked to everyone individually and I told them, I talked to you, Beka, and I said, this is my vision for this book and everything. And then I really outlined saying, okay, each chapter has to be X amount of words. This is your topic. You can add in the concept, the only woman in the room, if you want or not. It's not a requirement, but really get your story across, like what you want to cover. And in each chapter should have some knowledge and inspiration. If you want to be heavy on the knowledge and less on the inspiration, that's fine, or the other way around. So each chapter varies by knowledge and inspiration, but I wanted the balance between the two. So ultimately, what I did is, after speaking with everyone, giving some structure to each chapter, I started collating everything and then going through it and not only editing for content, but also editing too we had 3 editors on this book. We had, or I should say 4, because Liz and I both edited it. And then we had 2 editors edit the book. But we wanted to
How did you even find them? Was that Liz part of the publishing arm?
So we are starting to create the publishing arm. So this was also like a learning process in how to publish a book, and how to go through that process. And I was in charge of that part of it too.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot.
And started a publishing company, helped found a publishing company.
Let's do 2 huge things all at once. Let's be efficient.
It's easy. So we, ironically, one of my friends is an editor. I actually didn't know this because she does something different now, but she was an editor. She was an editor for Philadelphia Magazine and a few other publications. So she was an editor. And then I found another editor through one of those Upwork, Fiverr type sites, who is the editor for Harper and Penguin.
Oh, awesome.
Which was
Fiverr.
really, yeah. So she also does it on the side too, I guess, which was really cool. So anyway, once again, promoting 2 women along in the process. That was really important to us as well. So we did that. And then I don't know if everyone knows AJ Osborne. AJ Osborne is just a brilliant, brilliant mind. One of the smartest people I know. He's in self-storage. He owns, he's the top 1%. He's the top 0.7% of owners in the entire world of self-storage space. So he's just an incredible person and a good friend of mine. And he just published a book over the summer that was a bestseller in real estate for, I think, like 2 months in a row. I mean, he really is crushing it. And I tapped into his brain and said, how do I get this published? How do I create a publishing company? Because he created a publishing company too. So I really relied on other people along the way to provide guidance. And to what you, Keely and Beka, were saying earlier about, just asking people for help. You just ask until someone says yes, they're going to help you. Because there are a lot of people who would tell you no, but there are always people who would tell you yes. And there are always people who are willing to help you. And AJ was just so grateful with his time, and his publishing company has helped us really put together the pieces, understand the marketing side of it. So not that everyone wants this information on how to publish a book, but if you need insight, I'm always happy to help. If someone wants to shoot me a message, I can steer you in the right direction, because it's definitely my turn to give back. So
I love it. So give me an idea of how many hours you spent over the past 2 years in getting this book off the ground.
I don't even know if I could quantify that. I can't even tell you. I mean, hundreds
And there
of hours.
were attorneys involved, right? Because there was the legal document that came out of being a co-author, understanding the agreement, which I am 100% on board with. Anytime in real estate that you enter into some sort of partnership with people, set the ground rules first.
Well, the one thing I was really concerned about at first is because it wasn't like I tapped into my friends. I tapped into people who inspired me. So on some situations, I didn't know someone well enough to say whether or not that they would take this idea and run with it. So I needed a confidentiality agreement first, because I couldn't even tell them about the idea before I had the confidentiality agreement in place. To me, there's no other book in this space that mirrors this book. So I was really guarded in saying, okay, I'm going to give away my idea. And if I don't have a confidentiality agreement in place, they can literally duplicate it. And if they already have a publishing company, they've already authored books, then we're going to have a leg up on the process. Then I'm at knowing absolutely nothing. And so the first part was the confidentiality agreement. And then, talking freely about the book, the idea, how the relationship would be structured. And then if people were in agreement, then moving forward to the contract phase. But that confidentiality agreement, I think, was the most important part of the process, because not that everyone's going to take an idea and try to steal it from you, but you never know. And I believed I was doing it for all the right reasons, and I was approaching all the right people, but you don't know until so it was a lot of hours with lawyers, with starting up the publishing side too, because we have the whole publishing arm as well. So and we had to create an LLC and go through the org docs for that. I mean, a lot of hours. And then we had the design for the cover. I mean, I can't even tell you how many different designs we had for the cover. Thank you. I really love it too. And what's crazy is this wasn't even my first choice on the cover, but now looking back, I can't even believe I didn't pick this cover over the one I thought originally. Like the one originally is just kind of boring. So that shows that my forte is not in cover selection, and I should never be responsible for picking the cover, but I love the cover now. So I'm really a huge fan. And also too, so the whole idea is that, in the book, it's probably hard to see here, but it's a watermark of all men. And then, you have this one woman kind of not center, because that wasn't the point. It's not that the woman's highlighted in the center of the book. It's kind of the woman's off to the side. It's like an afterthought that she's there, right? And in each chapter, instead of putting the chapter numbers, we had, all the men. It'll probably be hard to see here, but we have all the men, and then each chapter is one woman replaces the man in the lineup. And it's not to say that we're trying to get rid of men here. That's not the point, but it's that we're adding women to the room. You know, we're becoming more of a presence together.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So Ashley, before we let you go, because we're coming up on time.
Yes.
When I met you, you are doing all the things. You're running multiple businesses, a flipping company, a wholesaling company. You do notes, you do large multifamily, you wrote a book. You also helped Liz and Andressa run their first conference.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to a woman who says they can't do that? Who says,
yes, you can. You can. I just closed on a 150 unit apartment building, then flew to Seattle, did a conference, like all within the past week. We launched the publishing company. We did the book. You know, I'm finishing a large rehab. I'm contracted to do a flip for a client, not a flip, but a full renovation on a project that it's going to be more money than I have ever put into a rehab across 3 of my most expensive houses, if that tells you anything. And I do all 6-figure renovations. So, and I'm not saying 300, it's almost double that. So I am telling you that you can do anything you put your mind to. And if you build a supportive community around you and you're always trying to do the right thing, it's amazing how much you can get accomplished. I didn't do this all overnight either. It's building, and you just do one thing at a time. And if someone told me 5 years ago, you're going to close on a 150 unit apartment building, launch a publishing company, launch your book, do all these things in less than a week's time, I'd be like, you're talking about someone else, because I could never do that. So, but my mindset was wrong. My mindset today is I can do anything I want to do. I just need to decide what I want to do, what's worth my time, and what's, you know, my bigger mission. I have another goal right now, and the things that it's a long-term goal, and the things I'm doing right now are actually very strategic. It's to get me to the position to achieve this one goal that I have set 2 years ago for myself. So I'm very deliberate in what I do. And I think that all comes from really knowing your why, not just saying it when someone asks, but really knowing your why and making sure everything you do, it matches your why. So the clearer you are on your why, the clearer you are on your vision, the clearer you are with what you want out of life. Every single time you do something, you have to ask, is this helping me achieve my why, or is this helping me achieve something else? And if it's not helping you achieve your why, then maybe you need to look and see whether or not your why is correct, or whether or not you really should be doing that.
I love it.
Love it. So true.
I have one final question.
Sure.
How did you get Barbara Corcoran to write a review of the book?
I asked. That's all you have to do.
Yes. Ask. It's amazing. It's amazing. The power of the ask.
And we're so reluctant to do that. Just like, you know, when women
Like
apply to a job, like you have to be hyper qualified before you feel like you're okay to apply, even ask, right? Like, so love it.
You just ask, just like, how did I get a house where I offered 50% less than ask? I just wrote up the offer and sent it in.
Right.
Because one time that's going to work. And that's all you needed to do is happen one time. So the more shots you take on net, the more likely you're going to have just one thing go right. And it's amazing how after one thing goes right, another thing goes right. And it's not because going right gets you on a roll. It's all the hard work you did to get to that one thing that went right. So my father-in-law, I quote him all the time. He says, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yep.
And it is 100% true. I'm literally working my ass off right now. And everyone's like, oh, you have all these things, great things happening. It's like, if you only knew, like we could probably have spent this last 45 minutes talking about the 3 lawsuits I'm in real estate, which, you know, is not so on the up and up. And, you know, but that's something I am more than willing to share the lessons I've learned there too. But I feel that every challenge is not, or, you know, every hurdle or everything is an opportunity. And last year I said this on Dave Van Horn's stage when we were up front. I said, last year I had the most opportunities I've had my entire life. Last year was the worst year in my real estate investing career, hands down, period. It was awful. It was terrible, but I didn't give up. I kept working so hard. I worked through it. I figured out, how do I move the needle? How do I grow from here? How do I use this as a opportunity? And just real quickly, to kind of give it one example, is that we bought a house where they had a septic system. The house was for 4 people. The house was barely lived in by 2 people. The septic system should never have failed. It should have passed. We didn't even do a septic test when we bought the house because the house was in immaculate condition and the septic should have been good. Well, it turns out that the septic system, when the buyers who tried to purchase our property went to do their inspection, the septic system, the pipe going out of the house, was not pitched correctly. So of course they wanted a whole new septic system, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, we have to get this new septic system. It cost us $13,000. A lot of people would say that is a crappy situation. That's terrible. You probably just learned that you could have done the inspection in the first place and just budget it in your numbers, etc. But, how do you really turn that into a positive? The positive we turned it into is every house in that market is on septic. So now you're getting a house with a brand new septic system. So because that deal fell out of contract, we advertise and push full forward, like you're getting a fully renovated house that's not new construction. So you don't have new construction taxes. You have lower taxes with a brand new septic system. So basically you have a brand new house, new construction, like in terms of mechanicals, but a lower tax bracket or lower taxes, real estate taxes. So it's a benefit. And we targeted people who are going after new construction homes. That's when you find the opportunity. So every situation, you just have to turn it into a positive. You have to learn from it. You have to decide, okay, how am I going to do this better when I'm faced with this problem in the future? But you also too can say, well, where's the silver lining too? How do I exploit this situation?
Pat went through some great discussions with insight. Thank you, Pat.
Nice. Ashley, I love it. So I think that's a perfect way to wrap up today. Ladies, I don't know if you have any last words for Ashley.
This was insightful. I don't think I've written down so many quotes from one single. I haven't. You can ask the girls. I'm usually not typing. I think I wrote down 4 or 5 here. So you are awesome, Ashley. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for answering my message to you. I think it was early this morning. And thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will definitely come on again, Peely, because this time you didn't make me cry. So, because last time I was like bawling. I forgot which question you asked me, but I couldn't even keep it together. I was like, I can't believe I'm crying right now. Like, what is wrong with me?
If anyone's wondering, it's Mothers of Multifamily. You can find it on the Jason Peely Project. It's
Go watch Ashley cry now.
Well, no,
yeah, if you want to watch me cry.
An amazing interview, and listen to it because you can hear Ashley that was a few months ago. And you had all these things in going. That was right before the big investor conference. Yeah. So go and listen to that. Stephanie, Melissa, you guys want to take us out?
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay. I love this. Never say yes. Podcast. This is one of my favorite ones that we've done. I think you're so inspiring. I love that you put this collection of women together. I love that there are groups of women that are creating tribes for other women to join and to elevate everybody when you do so. So thank you so much for having the vision for that book and for inviting Beka to be a part of it and putting it out there into the world so we can have something to lift everybody up with. So this is awesome. I love all you ladies. I feel inspired. My cup is full. I'm ready to tackle the week. And we'll see you guys next time.